Over the nearly 30 years, the Ballinger Award has recognized outstanding restoration projects. There have been 6 occasions where 2 properties have received the award in the same year. This year, we acknowledge this precedent in recognizing 2 winners. Each residence is designed in the Mediterranean Revival style by an architect considered by many to be the father of the style in South Florida. These architects, one being the Miami-based August Geiger and the other Addison Mizner, were such contemporaries as to be the only architects with offices in Palm Beach at the end of World War I. Neither had an academic education in architecture, but rather a natural talent for design and drawing. Each honed their craft, working for an established architectural firm prior to going out on their own. Following the chronological order of construction, we begin with the Lido, designed by the locally unsung yet immensely talented August Geiger. Geiger was born in New Haven, Connecticut in 1887. His father was a manufacturer of moldings and fine woodwork. He graduated from Boardman's Manual Training School and began vacationing with his family in Miami in 1899. In 1905, he permanently relocated to the city. A 1922 publication titled Men of the South included Geiger in the biographical sketches and portraits of prominent citizens in Florida. It describes him as one of the leading architects of the state, whose time is much in demand in consultation for the larger projects in Miami. The periodical goes on to proclaim his work to represent some of the most artistic buildings in the city and its vicinity. Another source, part of the National Register nomination for Biscayne National Park, references his Beaux-Arts training. While his attendance at the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris, a significant influence on American architecture at the time, cannot be confirmed, his characteristic focus on symmetry and restrained classicism is evident. Geiger's 1915 design for the Miami City Hospital, known as the Alamo, is considered in the same source to be the earliest traceable example of the Mediterranean Revival style in Miami. Interestingly, his residence for statesman William Jennings Bryan, located 3 doors down from Vizcaya on Brickell Avenue, was completed 2 years earlier in the same style. In many ways, its U-shaped plan, 2-story corner towers arranged in symmetrical wings around a central courtyard, an original roof covered in green Ludovici tiles, serves as a precursor to the ornately detailed Lido. The commissions Geiger received a year after opening his Palm Beach office in 1915 illustrate how his reputation preceded him. He became the supervisor of construction for Mrs. Frederick Guest's Villa Artemis by F. Burrell Hoffman, best known as the architect of Vizcaya. He designed the Fashion Beaux-Arts shopping center at the corner of Everglades Avenue and North Lake Trail. This led to a commission to design Otto Kahn's first residence in Palm Beach, Oheka Cottage. As indicated by the location of the Fashion Beaux-Arts, resort life prior to the 1920s was centered on the lake trail. Historical photographs of the Lido and original plans do not exist, so the exact date of construction is unknown. A 1919 Sanborn map used by the Sanborn Fire Insurance Company to determine premiums indicates the residence began construction prior to the issuance of the map in December of that year. The property comprising the Lido originally stretched from the lake trail to what is known today as Coconut Row. As indicated on the map, the property belonged to Harry Kelsey. Kelsey was a Boston entrepreneur born in 1879 who worked his way up from waiter to founder of Waldorf Systems, the third largest national restaurant chain. Shortly after arriving in Palm Beach in 1919, he sold his controlling interest in the company for $3 million, equivalent to $39 million today. He became the largest landowner in Palm Beach County, with land holdings encompassing what is now Lake Park, most of North Palm Beach, the Seminole Golf Club, and much of Palm Beach Gardens. Lake Park, originally known as Kelsey City, was the only area he succeeded in developing. The city plan was created by innovative urban planner John Nolan and the landscape architecture firm Olmsted Brothers. With the lake trail as the main thoroughfare during the time of construction, the primary elevation of the Lido faces the Lake Worth Lagoon. The recent restoration saw a complete redesign of the grounds. Its design acknowledges the property's relationship to the lake and complements the symmetry of the home. Replacing a centrally located pool, a newly installed fountain accentuates the ornately detailed loggia. Royal palms flank the fountain to frame the loggia, and two pools align with the towers on either side, acting as reflecting pools. A botanical garden tucked into the south celebrates the current owner's involvement with the New York Botanical Garden. To the north, a newly constructed open-air pavilion made of cypress features a hipped roof sheathed in green Ludovici tiles that match the main structure. Geiger's original design for the Lido utilized these unique green tiles, as did his earlier commission on Brickell Avenue for William Jennings Bryan. At some point, the roofs of both buildings were replaced with the more stereotypical Mediterranean Revival-style red clay barrel tile. The recent restoration rightfully restored the roof to appear as Geiger intended. Immediately east of the pavilion is a majestic Kapok tree that is amongst the oldest and largest specimens found on the island. As indicated on the earlier shown Sanborn map, the location of this tree is just 2 lots south of Thomas S. Clark's property. Clark is said to have brought the tree located there as a seedling from Nassau in the late 1800s, so it is likely that this tree is of similar age and origin. The massive size of the tree is not easily captured by photography. Notice the location of the roofline of the neighboring residence in this image. Returning to the home itself, we focus on the ornately detailed doorways of the north and south towers. At each doorway, a set of French doors topped with a transom is flanked by pilasters, decorated with acanthus leaves and rosettes on the shaft, and Corinthian capitals with squirrels. The entablature supported by the pilasters features a frieze decorated with birds and a cartouche, continuing the nature theme. Above the door surrounds are triple-arched windows referencing classical motifs, with vaults at the top of each arch. The twisted columns of the arcaded loggia are wrapped in grapevines and topped with Corinthian capitals in a floral motif. Entering the loggia, one finds a spacious area to entertain and take in views of the Lake Worth Lagoon and the city in the distance. Antique and caustic tiles reclaimed from chateaus and churches in Belgium and France cover the floors and this room and others throughout the home. The original design for the loggia was substantially narrower and functioned more as an entry porch rather than an outdoor living space. Its width was nearly doubled during this project, and a French door, mirroring the one on the opposite wall, was replaced with a fireplace. The carefully detailed surround references the decorative frieze seen on each tower with the addition of the letter L in the cartouche for the name of the home. Sensitive to Geiger's original designs, the new addition blends in seamlessly. Just inside is the living room and entrance hall, which are decorated with original millwork and paneling that feels distinctly Victorian in comparison to the Mediterranean Revival interiors popularized just a few years after the Lido was completed. Opposite the fireplace is a 3-panel pocket door that leads to the formal music room which now serves as a library. A new fireplace was added that ties into the existing fireplace in the adjacent room. The former library now serves as an office in order to take advantage of the garden and lake views. Notice how the original paneling in this room and elsewhere in the house stops just short of the ceiling. A second set of pocket doors leads to a light-filled sunroom overlooking the lake. More antique and caustic tiles define the color palette for the space. In this room, we find the first of 4 sculptures depicting ladies in waiting, partaking in habits considered by many to be anything but ladylike. The sculptures by Gerard Moss and the artwork throughout the Lido were curated by the owner's daughter, a professional art advisor. New acquisitions complement an existing collection and play with the concept of blending the old and the new with a nod towards the old masters. Back through the library and into the living room are 2 more sculptures by the same artist. One is metaphorical, showing a woman with bees in her bonnet. The other is quite literal. Past the fireplace and to the left is the dining room. Attuned to the eclecticism of the time period, chinoiserie pieces like this mirrored bamboo cabinet are used alongside more traditional furnishings. East of the dining room is a butler's pantry and the cantaloupe-colored breakfast room. The circular-shaped room showcases the craftsmanship of the curved moldings and built-ins. In the kitchen, a 3rd fireplace, along with a pecky cypress beamed ceiling, creates an intimate space for informal dining. On the opposite wall, a secondary set of stairs, formerly referred to as the suicide stairs due to their linear verticality, was replaced with a newly designed staircase featuring a landing and built-in storage. Returning to the entrance hall, visitors are greeted by Greek masks representing comedy and tragedy, hinting at the purpose of the room on the other side of the door. In addition to this residence, the owners previously restored a 1939 colonial revival cinema in Stamford, Connecticut, amongst many other preservation projects. Prior to making our way back outside, we stopped to admire the balustrade of the staircase and one last sculpture tucked beneath it. Outside, a marquee, frequently seen above the entrance to a theater or hotel, defines the doorway on the eastern facade. This character-defining feature had been removed at some point and replaced with a portico and double entrance doors that overpowered the Palladian window above. The newly restored entrance is once again representative of Geiger's talent for balance and proportion. Returning to the 1919 Sanborn map, we now focus on development occurring on the ocean, as represented by the fabled Stotesbury estate, El Mirasol, seen here in pink. With the exception being Henry Flagler's Whitehall, No private residence in Palm Beach rivaled the massive 37-room El Mirasol upon its completion in 1919. The 40-car garage, tea house, auditorium, and private zoo signaled a new era for the winter playground with a focus on social activities outside of Flagler's hotels. Addison Mizner, architect of the Everglades Club, seen at left, and Paris Singer, financier and president of the club, seen at right, introduced a new social order that revolved around the club and entertaining at one's personal abode. The Stotesburys, who hailed from Philadelphia, commissioned Mizner to build El Mirasol after attending the January opening of the Everglades Club earlier that year. The location of our second Ballinger Award winner, designed by Mizner for another Philadelphian named Daniel H. Carstairs, is located just one plat south of El Mirasol. This location suggests a connection between the two families that likely led to the building's construction. Daniel H. Carstairs ran the family-owned liquor distilling business, Carstairs, McCall and Company. Carstairs, appearing in a publication of notable Philadelphians next to his brother John, was also president of a gas fixture manufacturing company. Mizner's design for Carstairs embodies all of the characteristics associated with the Mediterranean Revival style. An asymmetrical facade, balconies, both pointed and semicircular arches, ornamental cast stone, ironwork, and a red clay barrel tile covered roof. Romantic Mediterranean detailing, for which he is known, is uniquely interpreted in a literal manner with a heart motif on the wrought iron balustrades and window grills. Mizner's skillful mixing of themes originating from countries around the Mediterranean Sea and use of different materials can be attributed to his time working as an apprentice and later as a partner in the San Francisco office of architect Willis Polk. There he received his training as a draftsman and also learned the building trades. Completed in 1923, the Carstairs residence has evolved over time, but continues to be unmistakably Mizner. Approaching the home from North Ocean Boulevard, two features define the east elevation of the home: the monumental entrance and bay windows. For the facade, Mizner stated that he set out to design a farmhouse of the Ferdinand and Isabella period, with oversized doors that could allow farm carts to drive into the inner courtyard. Mizner was well-versed in the architecture of this period, having lived in Central America while his father served as the highest-ranking American diplomat in the region. He also studied 1 year at the University of Salamanca in Spain. A 1928 edition by Maurice Fazio for the second owner, G. Brian Pitts, significantly expanded the footprint of the home and changed the design of the extra-large doors. Although Fazio's design altered every elevation, it stayed true to Mizner's on the primary facade, with the exception of the entry doors and bay windows. A third bay window was added to accommodate a larger dining room. Fazio also simplified the design of the window grills and balustrades, omitting the heart pattern. The original 1923 floor plan by Mizner was 1 bay deep in order to catch the ocean breezes prior to the advent of air conditioning. Notice the length of the north and south elevations. The 1928 edition by Fazio not only expanded the dining room, living room, and master suite, but also doubled the number of guest rooms and added an entire service wing with 11 small bedrooms. A beach cabana and oceanfront pool rounded out the project for a total cost of $70,000. The property could now comfortably accommodate a house full of guests, including the current owner's 4 children and many grandchildren. Despite these substantial alterations and additions, Fazio largely preserved the character-defining features and finishes designed by his predecessor. The dramatic effect of Mizner's vision for the entrance hall is best experienced when both sets of doors are opened, allowing a continuous vista to the rear of the property. The original design for the Terrace Gardens contains a small pool and a fountain in the distance, all of which remain and were carefully restored. In the entrance hall, a circular staircase with a wrought iron cage climbs to the second floor, providing access to the master suite. As seen in this historic photograph, a flight of 6 steps leads to the loggia. Prior to entering the loggia, notice the pointed archway to the right, with another set of stairs that leads to a whimsically located powder room. Originally, the trefoil arched windows of the loggia stopped halfway down the wall. The 1928 alterations brought the eastern-facing windows to the floor, while the recent restoration continued the configuration to the west, allowing for unobstructed views. Impact glass was also installed throughout the house, and new casement windows, appropriately sized for the original openings. Mizner's plan for this room indicates a $200 allowance for the Pecky cypress ceiling and diamond-shaped glazed tiles from Los Manos, one of the many factories he established as part of Mizner Industries to provide the furnishings and finishes for his projects. Off the loggia is the living room. The fireplace in the living room initially lined up with the doors, but was shifted to the center of the room when Fazio enlarged the space. The fireplace surround designed by him maintained the same form as Mizner's. Looking west, the scale of the room is indicated by the large tapestry on the far wall and the stately carved china cabinet. Throughout the home, the use of antiques for the decor maintains the spirit of Mizner. Back into the loggia, the modern-day architect of this project replaced a small door to the circular staircase leading to the master, with a pointed archway to allow light and ease of movement. A larger circular staircase on the opposite side of the entrance hall leads to the guest rooms upstairs. To the right of the staircase is the dining room. The original size of the dining room was proportional to the original living room. Its decor complemented Mizner's vision for a farmhouse of the Ferdinand and Isabella period. As previously mentioned, Fazio significantly enlarged the room and added a third bay window. The 3 bays accommodate a perfectly sized sideboard flanked by 2 window seats. The stenciled beam ceiling, designed by Mizner, was continued by Fazio, as were the colorful tile inserts randomly placed on the floor. Interestingly, Mizner's plan indicates just a $10 allowance for these charming inserts. Off the dining room is a butler's pantry and kitchen designed and crafted in England. A breakfast porch off the kitchen, added by Fazio, was doubled in size to accommodate the current owner's large family. Original details were carefully replicated for a seamless addition. Arriving once more in the entrance hall, we reached the tranquil gardens of the property. The pool designed by Mizner is framed by the original quarried keystone and anchored by 4 medjool palms. Past 3 original quarried keystone steps is a new pool masterfully designed to complement Mizner's vista as he intended. Prior to climbing the steps, the original fountain is the focal point rather than the new pool. This feature also acts as a reflecting pool for the historic fountain. Turning back towards the home from higher ground, a historic photograph illustrates the many improvements to Mizner's design made by later architects. To the left on the second floor, the turret added by Fazio can be seen. Below, the floor-to-ceiling windows of the loggia that were part of this project. To the right, Fazio's expanded breakfast porch. Finally, the enhanced gardens. Turning once more to the left, past the Fazio addition is a pool cabana, in which varying ceiling heights were unified with a vault. A newly constructed covered dining area has plenty of room for 3 generations. Exiting the house through the grand entrance hall, one finds a uniquely designed driveway, laid with bricks and individual stones. Across the street, a beach cabana is informed by the details of the main residence. Looking towards the house from the cabana, Mizner's heart motif is brought full circle in the reconstructed wrought iron gates of Fazio design. For August Geiger and Addison Mizner, the Mediterranean Revival style provided a vehicle that both architects utilized to transport clients to a different time and place. Their designs were a welcomed departure from the Northeastern-style dwellings that preceded them and helped set the standard for the architectural fabric of Palm Beach. In many ways, their lack of an academic education in architecture allowed them to envision their own whimsical creations outside of the confines of traditional period styles. The resulting bodies of work have enduring appeal that continue to capture the imagination. For the lucky modern-day stewards of these architectural delights, their designs provide a gracious lifestyle made relevant for modern living through sensitive rehabilitation and the talent of carefully selected design teams. The time and resources that Deborah and Chuck Royce put into the Lido and Panina and Yoram Weisfish put into their North Ocean Boulevard residence are a gift of national importance to Palm Beach. The Ballinger Award strives to recognize owners who go the extra mile to honor the legacy of the architects who design their homes. For that reason, the award enjoys amplified success in achieving that goal by celebrating 2 winners.